This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
All right, we are back in action. This is the Sons of UCF show. This is the 121st edition of said show. My name is Adam, and as always, I have my good friend and yours, Mr. UCF Mike, with me again for another week. Michael, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. 121 episodes and still rolling. We never miss a beat. We don't take weeks off. Let's keep the train moving, man. The Gus bus is on tracks, and so are we.
Wow. All right. Mike's fired up. Usually Mike's pretty verbose off the top there. Mike is succinct. He is fired up. He is ready to talk about Gus Malzahn's first week at UCF and everything that came with that. Recruiting offers, coaches, more coaches, less coaches. We got all that good jazz. And then some other sports are getting ramped up, Mike. The basketball team, don't look now. They've peaked a little bit. They've had a couple of really good performances back-to-back, so we'll talk about that. I know you had a chance to check out UCF baseball live. An interesting weekend for the guys on the Diamonds, and we'll break through all that here. And of course, we have Cow of the Weekend. Don't miss our interview with one of the all-time greats at UCF. I don't think that's controversial, Mike. One of the best to ever lace him up and wear the black and gold. Greg McCrae is our guest this evening on the show. So an action-packed show for you as always. Before we get into any of that, let's do some reminders off the top. First off, make sure you are following us on all of our social media channels. You can do that at Sons of UCF. That is Twitter, that is Facebook, that is Instagram, and that is our YouTube page. Subscribe to that YouTube page. We're posting the Trace Trelko exclusive interviews with pretty much every coach that's not nailed down right now, or any coach that's not named Gus Malzahn, I guess I should say, all available on our YouTube page. If you're listening to us for one of the first times, welcome aboard. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us on. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button too. If you'd also be so kind while you're in that little application situation, give us a little rate, give us a little review. 5 stars would be fantastic. If you want to take some time to write out a couple sentences about what you think of the show, we'd love to hear it. Mike actually goes through. I'm not joking when I tell you this. Mike reads all of those. So if you want to give us a little subscribe, a little rate, little review, we would definitely not be mad at you for that. And last announcement, the virtual 5K is happening. We had some of the ladies from the West Palm Beach Alumni Association Club on with us a few weeks back on the Sons UCF live show each and every Thursday, by the way. And they have now hooked us up with their own group. So if you go to their page, it's an option now to join the Sons of UCF team. So if you want to run the virtual 5K, we've got all that stuff posted on our social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter. Go look that up. Join the Sons of UCF virtual 5K. I think you get a T-shirt and a medal from the Alumni Association. And who knows? Mike and I might just toss in some free swag as well for some of our teammates if we have some good scores. So a lot of homework for you guys off the top, but we appreciate each and every one of you for doing all of those things. And Mike, I know you are already beginning the virtual 5K trash talk.
Have you seen? Oh, I know you have, but has everybody seen the medal you get for running this thing? That thing is awesome. I love that. It's worth signing up just to get the medal that you get, plus the T-shirt, plus the winner of the Sons of UCF group will get a Sons of UCF hat. How's that? And
that's official?
We know the names.
That's official? Yeah, that's formal? Okay.
But can we see who is in our group?
I don't know. Maybe. I think I could probably reach back out to the good folks at the Palm Beach Alumni Association. They may be able to give me a list. They were able to hook us up with the group name there, so they might be able to help us out with that. So I think that is doable for sure.
All right. That's the trash talking begin. I already started talking trash to Trace. I have no worries about beating him in this thing. You might be a little difficult. I know you're a runner. You've always been pretty good at it. Have you practiced? Have you started training for this thing yet, or what?
Yeah, I did a mile or so the other day. I've got a bad knee. I've had a calf injury, so I've been kicking a little slow. I did a turkey trot on Thanksgiving, and I was I was asking my wife if she remembered my time. I want to say it was in the 25-minute range, which was actually better than I thought I was going to do because I hadn't really run distance in a while. So I think I'm in that range. We'll see. With me, buddy, it's injuries. You never know how the knee's going to feel that day, how the calf's going to feel. So I feel like I'm in that ballpark there. Maybe I can shave off 30 seconds or so. We'll see.
25 minutes. That's pretty good. That's very respectable.
That's actually not my record, by the way. When I was younger, probably like 10 years ago, I think I ran like a 23, maybe 22-minute situation. So I've got a long way to go, my friend. But I'm an old man. What are you going to
do? Do we have age groups inside the Sons of UCF group?
I might need an age group. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we're in our 40s now. I don't know the people that are signing up for this thing. Maybe we can put a little handicap on these. I don't know. I know some people are scared already. Libby was out there. She was a little worried when she was signing up. But it all goes for a good cause. We're raising money for UCF, and it's a fun thing to do. And like I said, the medal alone is worth it. And then you got a shot at a hat. If you can beat Adam and me, and you can beat the other guys in this group, you'll get yourself one of these hats, which Trace just got his on Sunday.
I saw.
There's only a couple left for now.
It looked beautiful. Yeah, it looked beautiful. He was stunning in his Sons of UCF hat. Yeah, it'll be a fun time. You know, if you're a fast runner, slow runner, you want to walk the thing. You know what? It's a virtual run, so you can do it at your own pace. Find a friend to go with you. You know, find out your trail there. Find someone to go with you, push you a little bit, have some fun. You know, post your time. Again, maybe we'll give a hat to the top person, and maybe we'll pick somebody random. You know, who maybe has the funniest picture or does something else. So you never know. It's for a good cause. It's a good time. It's hopefully the weather holds up. You got a whole week to do it and post it. So, I think obviously it would have been a lot cooler if we all could have been together in person running this thing. But obviously much more important things happen in society right now to allow that to happen. But let's still have some fun with it. Again, sign up. Go find the virtual 5K. It's all over our social media stuff. And make sure you sign up under the Sons of UCF group, Mike. One person who I don't think is going to sign up under the Sons of UCF group because he's been pretty busy in his first week on campus, Mike, and that is one Gus Malzahn. The first week of Malzahn is officially in the books, Mike, and let's start here. He's rounded out the majority of his coaching staff. Still has a couple of open positions available, but let me just start here. We'll go into some detail on these guys. But what's your overall thoughts so far on the coaching staff that Malzahn has assembled?
All reports are positive as to this point. He's had a very busy week. He's filled almost every spot. We got a strength and conditioning coach. We got defensive coordinators. We got offensive coordinators now, even though he's the one calling the plays. We actually got co-offensive coordinators and co-offensive and co-defensive coordinators. So he's doing everything he said he was going to do. He's getting guys that can recruit, and that's the main thing we always talk about here at UCF. Can we get the guys that know how to recruit this area, especially in Florida, especially in highly talented areas like South Florida, down in the Miami area. He's got the guy from FIU, Ice Harris, who is a legend apparently down in South Florida. He's the main recruiter down there now, and that is what we needed. That is exactly what this program is always talked about doing, recruiting the state of Florida, locking down the I-4 corridor, and it appears that Malzahn is not just talking about it. He's actually going to do it. So far in the first week, he's been very busy, and he's been very effective in forming his staff.
Well, here's what we got so far for those who aren't familiar. So the co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach is a guy named G.J. Kinney. The G.J. actually stands for Gary Joe. I had to know that, Mike, so I looked it up. He is coming to us from the same position in Hawaii, where he spent one season as their offensive coordinator. He spent some time with the Philadelphia Eagles. He spent some time with the Arkansas Razorbacks. He spent some time with the SMU Mustangs. He also played for Tulsa. He was not there when Gus was there, but he played at Tulsa. He actually played in Orlando. He played against UCF. There's some pictures that I saw gravitating out there on social media. Mike, he's a younger offensive coordinator, but he's worked under some people, Norvell, Doug Peterson, Chad Morris. So he's worked under some guys. If you want to have any concern, it's and again, he won't be calling plays. Gus was very, very clear about that. But Hawaii wasn't exactly an offensive juggernaut last year, only averaging 384 yards a game and 26 points a game. They did not have a good season, but again, it was COVID, so who the heck knows. But G.J. Kinney from Hawaii, so you got to wonder if there's any sort of a Dylan Gabriel connection, at least there's some commonality there, Mike. That is your new co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach.
That was my initial reaction. We were sitting at the baseball game yesterday, Trace and I, and when the news broke, and he said, "Oh, we got a guy from Hawaii." I said, "Well, there you go, keeping Dylan happy." Maybe that was a request of his to have somebody that he was familiar with. Who knows if he even knows this guy? But if you can't beat the guys from Tulsa, get a couple of them on your staff. Maybe they'll help out. We don't play Tulsa this year, but at least maybe they'll have a little remedy for us. Tell us the things that they know about us that we can fix.
The other co-offensive coordinator and running back coach, Mike, as you alluded to, Tim Harris Jr., coming to UCF from FIU, where he's been since 2015. Prior to that, he was a high school coach in Miami. Literally just this offseason, he was named offensive coordinator at FIU. He's tabbed to be an elite recruiter, Mike, an elite level recruiter. You said earlier he's a Miami legend. FIU, not necessarily, I couldn't think of any running backs that have come out of FIU that have been of any stature, but by all accounts, Mike, he's a solid coach, and this seemed to be the guy that most people on social media were really excited about joining our staff.
I believe he was a coach at Booker T. Washington down here. That's for a while.
Yep.
Which is a huge school in Miami that produces a lot of talent. So he's got connections there. He's got connections all over Miami. And, yeah, he was recruiting for FIU. There was only so much he could bring there. Now that he's here at UCF with Gus Malzahn at the helm, I'm sure he'll be able to attract even more high talent to UCF.
What's interesting about him is he appears to be the only guy on the offensive staff that doesn't have any really obvious ties to Malzahn or any sort of Malzahn proteges. All the other guys we're going to mention have some sort of a tie-in or coached under a guy that coached with Malzahn. So, for example, G.J. Kinney coached under Todd Graham. Todd Graham was the head coach at Tulsa when Malzahn was there. So there's some connections between those guys, but no obvious connection between Tim Harris and Malzahn, at least one that anyone's kind of unearthed yet. So you got to think that Malzahn saw the opportunity to bring a young, up-and-coming coach, and maybe he literally said, hey, who's the best recruiter in South Florida? And someone said, this guy, and he goes, cool, I'm going to have him on my staff. And if that's the case, that is certainly a boss move by Mr. Malzahn. And then, Mike, what better to be coaching your offensive line than some guy named Hand? So our new OL coach is a guy named Herb Hand, who worked with Gus at Tulsa and at Auburn. He's also had stints at Tulsa, Vandy, Penn State, Auburn, of course, and University of Texas. His offensive line staff was up for one of the awards for best offensive line in 2017 when he was at Auburn. I think you remember that team, Mike. Kind of a veteran coach, older coach, but Herb Hand will be coaching blocking for UCF.
Hand is a very experienced coach, so he's the balance to these young guys like Kinney and Travis Williams and the other coaches on this staff. Somebody that's been around the block a few times, worked with Malzahn before, knows how he likes to work, is kind of like his next in charge, not by title, but by experience. Good guy to have on the staff, and the offensive line is in good hands with Herb Hand.
I see what you did there. Yeah, this one got a little bit of controversy both ways. Some people at Auburn, if you read Auburn message boards, said that he was like the worst offensive line coach ever. He just left Texas, and he was going to Charlotte. He got sort of let go, or I guess wasn't retained when Steve Sarkisian showed up at Texas. Which is why he ends up going to Charlotte, and then obviously Gus steals him away. He's had some previous co-offensive coordinator experience as well, so certainly a veteran guy, and we'll see how he meshes with the big boys out front of UCF. A combo position here, Mike, tight end and special team. So this was previously a one coach position at UCF, one each for both of these. Gus is going to combine these here, and it goes to Brian Blackman, who's coming to us from Troy, where he coached tight ends. He also added special teams in 2019. He was also the running backs coach for a year. He spent 1 year with Gus at Auburn, and prior to that, 21 years as a high school coach in Alabama, Mike. So another guy with kind of some high school ties, had some experience here, but he's coming to us from Troy, where their special teams was okay. I don't know how to validate all that. There was a stat I read in his bio that said that they were the top-ranked special teams unit in the nation. I don't know what the hell goes into that, but it sounds better than kind of where we've been. So Brian Blackman, tight ends and special teams, Mike.
Our special teams has been lacking for the last few years, and that's putting it nicely. We've always been complaining now, ever since, I guess, the hype, basically since Mike Hughes returned that kick for a touchdown
Nothing's happened
against the Cows.
Yeah.
We've done nothing on special teams. Punt returns, kick.
Otis.
The Otis return against Pittsburgh. Okay. Other than that, we have not had any kind of returns. We haven't blocked any punts. The special teams has just been bad. Our kickers are kicking the ball out of bounds 6 times a year. So any kind of improvement on special teams is needed, and this guy hopefully can bring it in. And the tight ends, he's coaching tight ends. which we did not utilize the last couple of years under Heupel. We have Hescock. We don't use him as much over the middle or in the red zone like we should. So maybe now, with this guy coming in, different philosophies with Malzahn, we'll see a big improvement in both those areas.
So the only position that's not currently filled as we record here, Mike, is the wide receiver coach. Gus is also running out of money. So odds are he'll go for another young guy there, Mike. But to your point, a lot of young guys on that offensive side. Herb Hand, obviously sort of the veteran. So we'll see what that shapes up on the offensive side. Again, we know Gus is going to call plays. So we'll see how that works out for the rest of the group. Turning to the defensive side of the ball, obviously we knew our defensive coordinator, Travis Williams. T. Will, he's been at Auburn since 2014. He spent the last 2 weeks at Miami as their linebackers coach. Interesting to note, he was also the recruiting coordinator at Auburn. I don't know if Gus has designated anybody on the staff as a recruiting coordinator. But, Mike, we talked about Travis on the live show on Thursday. Seems like a ball of energy. The first time being in the actual coordinator chair, so first time sort of with that title, although he'll share that title with the next guy that I'll talk about. But certainly seems like an excitable guy, Mike, and hopefully one that the players will gravitate to just based off his energy and his passion.
Seems like players love this guy. They love his energy. He can rap. I've seen one of his raps. And that can't hurt when it comes to dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. But he knows what he's doing. He was a good player himself, and he's turning into a very good coach. When we talked to the beat writer for Auburn the other night on Thursday night on our live show, there were Auburn fans that wanted this guy to take over as head coach after Malzahn left. That's how highly thought of he is coming in. So a steal. Everybody's talking about this guy as probably the best hire on this staff. So everybody's going to get to learn this name, Travis Williams. They call him T-Will. Get ready to see him. I'm going to be interested to see. He seems like a defensive coordinator that likes to get on the sidelines. We've seen Shannon up in the booth the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think this guy is an energy guy on the sidelines, getting people hyped up, doing chest bumps on the way off the sideline. I'm looking forward to seeing this guy in action.
I read someplace that he would be in the sideline. I'm not sure if that was just speculation, if that was true. And listen, this is a key one because for as much maligned as Randy Shannon was, he was beloved by his players. And the guys, every guy you and I have talked to, Mike, everything you've read about the relationships, you can talk about X's and O's all you want, and obviously there's some things that Randy I think could have improved there. But by and large, he was loved by his players. So T-Will's got some big shoes to fill. It sounds like at least early on, the kids are taking to him, and it seems like they're gelling and meshing. But obviously, a lot of shoes to fill. But he won't be there alone, Mike. The co-defensive coordinator and secondaries coach is a guy named David Gibbs. He's been in the coaching circuit since 1995. He spent 9 seasons in the NFL for a couple different teams in the secondary. He's also been the defensive coordinator at Texas Tech, and then most recently the secondaries coach at Mizzou. Mike, he's kind of the Herb Hand, if you will, on the defensive side, brings a ton of experience to the table.
That's exactly the way Malzahn's building the staff. Young guy, experienced guy. Young guy, experienced guy. I love it. And I love that it's a co-defensive coordinator. That might just be title for salary purposes, but it's also to help the young guy out. Travis Williams is a first-time defensive coordinator. Now he's got Gibbs with him, somebody that's been through the ringer before. I love the way he's building this staff. And it can't hurt, man. It can't hurt to have guys from different areas. Not only do we have the Miami guys locked down, now you got guys that have recruited Alabama before, and Malzahn said he's going after Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and Florida. He's keeping it here in the Southeast. These guys are from all over these places.
If I could throw in anything that may be a bit of a negative, I mentioned that he was the defensive coordinator at Texas Tech for 4 years, Mike. There are 128 D1 college football programs. Here are the rankings of his defenses while he was at Texas Tech. Are you ready? 127, 128, 104, and 110. Not exactly a defensive juggernaut. Now, that may not be all on him. The Big 12 throws it around the yard like it's going out of style. And so maybe there's some of that there, but didn't have the best defenses at Texas Tech. So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, he's got a ton of experience. I guess you don't spend 9 years in the NFL if you can't coach. So maybe if he's just simply a position coach and T. Will's handling some of that stuff, But if I had to put a little bit of a question mark next to any hire, I guess so far it's this one just based on some of the track record.
All right. Now, you take all that stuff with a grain of salt. Texas Tech has never been – where are they in the pecking order of Texas schools? And obviously, you got Texas, you got Texas A&M. These guys are there with, Baylor and SMU. They're competing for the fourth, fifth kid in Texas,
Yep.
which is, who knows? And they're in a tough conference. Like you said, an offensive conference where – tell me the rankings of the other schools in the Big 12. I bet you there's a lot of them down 80, 90 plus. So I'm willing to give him a chance. He's not the defensive coordinator here. He does have a lot of experience. So let's see what he can do.
All right, so he's the secondaries coach. Today on Monday, we hired a cornerback coach. His name is Addison Williams. He spent some time in some small schools, including Furman. But in 2019, he was an analyst at Auburn. And in 2020, he was the safeties coach at Coastal Carolina, which was a sort of a college football darling in 2020, Mike. So not a ton of experience. Another younger guy coming in to coach the DBs, Addison Williams.
It's kind of interesting that we have this guy to coach it says cornerbacks.
Yeah. And
then you got Gibbs coaching the DBs, defensive backs.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems a little strange.
Well, to be fair,
and then you got one guy, special teams and tight ends.
Yeah, to be fair, that's what UCF did last year, if you recall. Corey Bell was the cornerback coach, and Willie Martinez was the secondaries coach. So I think it's probably not as uncommon as you would think, but it is a bit of a head scratcher.
I guess they just need to have the same amount on offense and defense. So titles are what they are, and they just find ways to fit these guys on the staff.
Here's another guy, Corey. Addison Williams has big shoes to fill. I saw on Twitter on Sunday night, people were still kind of hoping that UCF would retain Corey Bell, who was the cornerback coach prior to. Obviously, that has not happened here with Addison Williams' hire. So, again, that defensive staff may have some big shoes to fill. I think a couple guys probably won't be as missed, but I think a few of those guys certainly have some big shoes to fill. And then some other positions filled kind of off the coaching field, if you will, a little bit. Chris Dawson has been hired as the director of sports performance, which I guess is a fancy way of saying the strength coach. And we plucked him out of Kansas State, where he's been for 12 years, Mike. And this guy has interviewed for some other big jobs in the past. Looks like a coaching change took place in Kansas State a while back, so maybe there's some, there's some stuff there. But Chris Dawson, Mike, coming to UCF to lead the strength program.
Very highly thought of, this guy. Plenty of great reviews coming out of Kansas State. You don't stay in one place for that long if you're not doing a good job. And I don't know Kansas State's situation exactly. I imagine they've gone through a couple of head coaches in that time, and they still kept this guy around. He must know what he's doing. It's not just some small Division II school. Kansas State is a big-time program. So he's got to have the experience, and Malzahn must know him somehow, and at least knows his reputation. He came highly recommended from somebody. So I like the position hire too. Yeah,
Kansas State had Bill Snyder as their head coach, Mike, who was like 100 years old. So he'd been there forever. So I imagine he just stayed with Dawson. And then when he retired, they hired Chris Kleinman, maybe, from South Dakota. And so I think there's some regime change there. But by all accounts, listen, there were some people who were pretty critical of our strength and conditioning program. They felt like it took a step back under the Heupel regime. I don't know how you measure any of that stuff, Mike. I'm not sure how consistent or factual that stuff is. Were there more injuries? Was it because of the strength and conditioning program? Were we slower? Were we out of shape? Who knows? But obviously a good strength coach is definitely worth their weight. See what I did there? So good to have Chris Dawson on staff. And then we have two more positions, Mike. I know you don't know anything about these guys, neither do I, but I'll say their names, or I'll try to, because I don't know if I can pronounce either. Director of Football Ops is S.J. Tui, who's coming to us from Liberty. He is the guy who was in The Blind Side, the real-life Blind Side. He's the actual brother of Michael Orr. And then on Monday, David Ducati was hired as Director of Player Personnel. So Gus also filling some off-field positions as well. Leaving a couple of holes, Mike. Defensive line, not yet hired. Wide receiver, not yet hired. And then not sure what's going on with the linebacker spot. Will Travis Williams coach linebackers? Will they bring in one more guy for linebackers? You mentioned maybe they want to do a bit of a split, a 5-5. So does one of those spots now go to the receiving core and the other two go to defense? I guess we'll find out. But still some open spots on Gus Malzahn's staff to fill.
Will there be any holdovers? Anybody left that Malzahn brings back from the Heupel staff? Usually when new coaches come in, they keep one guy around. It's odd that you get a completely new staff, like what happened when Frost left and Heupel came in. You had to replace everybody. It'll be interesting to see if Malzahn decides to keep anybody around for at least the first year. And are we going to see any UCF guys? Any guys with UCF ties? Only a few positions left, like you just said. The names we were talking about earlier, the Darren Hinshaws, the Kevin Smith, guys like that, those positions have already been filled. So if there's anybody left, wide receiver, I mean, everybody talks about Sean Beckton. He would really have to come back for a pay cut at this point now because we don't have that much money to spend on these last few positions. Probably going to go to some younger guys. It's interesting to see what Malzahn's going to do here. I don't know. I don't anticipate any UCF guys coming in now. Do we have any young guys that are on the radar?
I mean, you've got where you're at position wise. I mean, defensive line. I know Leje Duzable has been kind of vocal on social media that he'd be interested in potentially joining the staff. I don't know that he has any coaching experience, so would he come on the quote unquote cheap? On the offensive side, to your question earlier, I don't think there's any Heupel holdovers you could hire, except for that poor running back coach, Matt Merritt, I think his name is, who got hired here for about a week, and then Heupel did not retain him over at Tennessee. So that poor guy's now probably looking after he left James Madison. So hopefully he ends up someplace. Obviously, Cody Burns was a name. He was a guy who worked at UCF for about 17 minutes and then actually followed Heupel to Tennessee, but he used to work for Gus at Auburn. Again, we may have priced ourselves out of that market based on the amount of money that we have left, unless Gus wants to go super young. I think that the prevailing thinking here would be UCF spend some money on the DL coach because that's such an important position, and there's really not kind of nobody up front or nobody with at least past experience on that coaching side, and then tries to go on the cheap and grab a wide receiver coach and a linebacker coach. But in terms of former UCF guys on the offensive side, Mike, I think we're priced out, right? I don't think we're getting Hinshaw. I don't think we're getting Kevin Smith. Again, Beck don't have to take a pretty significant pay cut. Sean Jefferson was coaching in the NFL for the Jets. I'm not sure what his status is, but again, I imagine that's a bit of a pay cut. So unless it's a young receiver guy that I'm not thinking about, defense would be the only spot left potentially. But I think you'd want to bring someone in with a little bit of experience, particularly on the D-line position.
I'm pretty ssure I saw Sean Jefferson signed with somebody recently as a receiver coach. All right, he was the assistant head coach with the Jets. I don't anticipate any UCF guys. The guys that we have signed, I think they're all on 2-year contracts.
Correct.
Which I believe is commonplace. Usually, sometimes these position coaches just go year to year. People were trying to make a big deal out of that. And remember that Malzahn's putting the staff together last minute, and he's plucking guys from other places because that's what he has to do. He was the last head coach to be hired and kind of came after Heupel left, which was a little bit of a surprise. So usually pretty much every other staff in the country is intact right now. And Malzahn's trying to piece together his staff by taking guys from other places.
Yeah, I think 2 years is about the going rate for assistant coaches, right? I feel like that's where you don't see a lot of staffs holding together after 3 years. And that's just, I think, the nature of the business, right? New coaches get jobs and, they try to bring over guys just like, Malzahn's stolen some guys here, right? I'm sure FIU thought they were all locked in. They just promoted Tim Harris Jr. and all of a sudden he's gone. So that's kind of the way the coaching thing happens, Mike. But the interesting thing that's kind of bantered about now is, how do we assess the staff? Is this good staff? Every time there's a new hire posted, everyone's kind of asking the same question, which is this good news? Is this good? Should we be excited about this? And the reality is, Mike, we have no idea. I don't think anybody, you can look at these coaches individually in a vacuum and say they've had success or they've had some challenges at other stops, but we don't know how this whole staff will gel together. To your point, there's a mixture of youth and experience. Some of these guys have maybe worked together in the past. Some of these guys haven't. Some of these guys haven't worked directly for Coach Malzahn. Some of these guys have. And so I don't think anyone can tell you on either side that this is a slam dunk best staff ever at UCF. and that this is the worst staff UCF has put together. I don't think anybody knows that, and I don't think anyone will know that until we actually start to play real football at this point. On paper, though, Mike, there's definitely some hires that I think you could look at and be excited about, and you definitely see the blueprint that Malzahn's laying down here. Younger guys, recruiting is definitely an emphasis, but sprinkling in some veterans to maybe provide some experience and some perspective as the season goes on.
Yeah, we can talk about these guys all day long. The truth is, I never heard of any of them until this past week. Neither have you, and neither has anybody that's listening to this podcast. Don't let anybody lie to you. Nobody knows what these guys. Nobody would have been able to tell you what these guys look like up until this last week. So, just gotta trust Malzahn that he knows what he's doing, and I believe that he does. He's either worked with these guys before, or he's getting recommendations from people he trusts to fill his staff. And like we always say, recruiting is the number one thing. And if you can get guys to recruit, it's his job to coach them up. So get the right talent in here, and we're going to be fine.
Well, and the other key thing is all of it boils down to, X's and O's are great, Mike, but sometimes it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's. So, how well can these guys connect with the players? Obviously all these kids now are dealing with their second staff. Some of these guys may have some holdover. There may be a couple of third staff guys that are still kind of bouncing around. We asked Greg McCrae earlier, what's the staff changeover like? And, he basically said it's a challenge. You have to learn new things, how these guys want to coach, what they expect out of you. And so all these guys are going to be going through that same phase. So, we'll see if they're able to form connections and bonds with these guys. Again, I think the defensive staff has a long road ahead, Mike, because I think Randy was so well liked and respected by that group. So, T. Will seems like he's the kind of guy up for that challenge. So we'll see how that goes. The offensive side, Mike, I don't know. I don't get the sense that anyone's really tied to any of those coaches. I think O-line guys usually stick together because that's kind of what O-line guys do. So I'm sure there's probably some people who are sad to see Ellerby go, and but everybody else, I mean, Tucker had already sort of left, so I don't know that anyone was was surprised at that one. So we'll see how it shakes out, Mike. No one really knows. Well, again, X's and O's are great. Sometimes it's about the Jimmys and the Joes.
Right. We should be able to have the best talent in this conference just based on us being in Florida. And now with the recruiters that we have on staff, we should be heads and tails above every team in our conference, and we should be able to dominate the American for the next few years.
Well, let's talk about that talent, how we're dominating recruiting, Mike. So Gus Malzahn essentially being a one-man band for the majority of the week. I mean, some of these guys were added on later in the week. Herb Hand was probably the one that had the most opportunity, and I think T. Will as well. Gus was on an offering spree, Mike. I'm going to try to roll through these pretty quickly just to orient. We have Amari Kelly, four-star receiver out of Alabama. We have Peter Woods, he's not ranked, out of Alabama. We have Peyton Kirkland, who's a giant offensive lineman, 6'7", 285, out of right here in Orlando. Interesting story about him in the Sentinel that UCF had not offered him, which was funny. We have Braden Joyner, who is another offensive lineman out of Alabama. Kelby Collins, another big D-end out of Alabama. You're sensing a theme here, by the way. Derek LeBlanc, he is a D-end out of Florida. No stars just yet. Four-star Gerald Stinson, he's already committed to Auburn, and he committed under what I assume would be Malzahn, and he now has an offer. He's listed as an athlete. We have four-star Nick James coming out of Bradenton, Florida. He is listed as a defensive tackle. We have Caden Story, who is a D-end coming out of Alabama. He's listed at 4 stars. Trayon Webb, not ranked, coming out of Jacksonville as an athlete. Mikael Williams, 5-star defensive end out of Columbus, Georgia. Alfonso Allen, Taiwan McLeod, hold on, who's this guy? Edric Weldon, and Jeremiah Noel, all coming out of Hallandale Beach. I think we went down, and Justin Dull, excuse me. We went down and offered everybody who went to Hallandale Beach High School. And then we offered a big guy, offensive tackle out of Georgia, 4-star kid named David Shore. And the list goes on and on, Mike. What you don't see on there is a ton of Florida guys. What you are seeing is a bunch of guys who are listed in that 4-star ratio, Mike. So initially, Malzahn is kind of casting a wide net here, largely targeting Alabama, Georgia, which makes some sense. That's the area that he probably knows the best. But he's definitely sent out a flurry of offers here in his first week on the job.
I love that he's not scared to go after these 4- and 5-star guys. He says he's going to come in here and compete for the best players in the country, And that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's going out there and offering the best players in the country. Not just saying, oh, well, we're at UCF, so we can get this tier of player. And no, he's going after the best. A 5-star. We've never had a 5-star player come here to UCF. That would be a first. How many times have we had more than 2 4-stars in one class? He's recruiting nothing but 4-star guys. Now, I know we don't like to talk about the star rankings too much, usually because they're not in our favor. But I guarantee you, if we sign 3, 4, 5-star guys, people are going to be talking about that all offseason. You're going to say, oh, look at our recruiting class, the best recruiting class we've ever had. It is a big deal. And the thing is, when you sign one of these guys, then you get the snowball effect. You sign 2, you sign 3, then you really start cooking it. But some of these guys they have the rankings. They have, looking at the size of these guys, there's just a different caliber of player that we're going after. And I love it. I love to see what Malzahn's doing.
Yeah, it's been a nice flurry the first week, Mike, but this kind of reminds me of the Seinfeld episode. Anybody can take the reservation, right? That's easy, but keeping it's another thing, right? So anybody can make offers. Getting these guys to commit is a whole different story, and obviously we'll see how Gus is as a closer. Because there's obviously going to be competition for these guys coming from all angles, right? And particularly if you're going to be in Alabama and Georgia, you're going to be going against Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. So you're going to have competition for these guys, Mike. But here's where I would love to see Gus do some winning here. I did some research, Mike. This was not, me, I love my research. So I went back to 2018 and 2019, and I just looked at the state of Florida. So if you look at the state of Florida in 2018. The top ranked player that UCF got out of the state of Florida was ranked number 81 in the state that year. So we got the 81st best ranked player. So I looked at all the other players that were in that Florida class, and I looked at the ones specifically that did not go to a Florida school. So right now I'm taking out Miami, I'm taking out Florida, I'm taking out Florida State. I'll get back to that. And I looked at all the other schools that these other 80 guys went to, right? The names you would expect on here on 2 Clemson, 4 Alabama, 4 Ohio State, 4 to Georgia, 4 to Oklahoma, 4 to Auburn, 3 to Notre Dame, 4 to Louisville. But then, Mike, check out these guys. 1 to Minnesota, 1 to Texas A&M, 1 to Virginia Tech, 1 to Baylor, 2 to Illinois, 2 to Penn State, 2 to Nebraska, 1 to Maryland, 1 to Texas, 1 to South Carolina, 2 to UNC. If we can win those battles, Mike, I think that's where Malzahn can really kind of make his impact, right? I think if we're going to go up against Miami, Florida, Florida State for the 4 and 5-star guys, again, those are going to be tough challenges. We'll see how we fare on those, right? And we'll see if we can come out on top. But if we go against Florida, Florida State, Miami, and we can win 1 or 2 of those battles a year, I think that would be fantastic. But I think we can really win if we can keep kids who were thinking about leaving the state of Florida, who are maybe low 4-star, high 3-star guys. If we can keep those kids in Florida, I think that's a huge win. Looking at 2019, 77 players before UCF's first guy that came out of Florida, right? So of those guys, 44 did not go to Florida State, Florida, and Miami. And again, I'll just read these off. 1 in Tulane, 1 in Maryland, 2 in Texas, 2 in Syracuse, 2 in South Carolina, 2 in Indiana, 2 went all the way to USC in California, 2 to Arkansas, 3 to Michigan, 2 to Oregon, 1 to TCU, 1 to Texas A&M, 1 to Virginia Tech, 2 to Pitt. If we can just keep some of these kids at home, if we can win these battles and, again, keep these low 4-star, high 3-star guys in Florida and not traveling all the way to all these other rando schools, I think that's where Gus can really kind of make his inroads here first and early on. And then we go up against the big boys and we battle for the 4 and 5-star guys. And if we win 1 or 2 of those a year, I think that's just icing on the cake. But I think we've got to stop some of this exodus to these lower tier P5 programs just because we think they're P5. I think Gus can win those. I think that's a good recruiting blueprint for UCF.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not scared to go up against those schools, clearly. He's not even scared to go up against the Florida and Florida States. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? He's going after anybody. He's throwing out all the offers. It's a numbers game. You put out 100 offers to 4-star guys, 5-star guys. If you sign 2 or 3 of them, hey, that's 2 or 3 that we weren't getting before. So, and he's already starting now early. And he can definitely compete against schools like you mentioned, Virginia Tech and North Carolina and Syracuse. We have so much more to offer than those schools. And he's going to start preaching that we're making the playoff in the next couple of years, and he really believes it. And I think he can get some of these kids to believe it too. And like I said, you sign one or two of them, then that leads to 3, 4, and 5 more.
Yeah, it's got to start somewhere, right? And so that's where I'd love to see him make inroads in this first class. Is just keep a bunch of these kids from going to schools like this, right? And then go and try to strategically win those battles for those guys that we really, really, really want, right? We offer 100 4-star guys, right? We love all of them. But go win the battles of the kid that we really have to have, the great offensive tackle that we need, the great linebacker that we want. Go win some of those battles. Keep the local kids local, and win some of these other battles against these lower tier P5 programs, and then you start churning. I think the only thing you concern yourself, or you might be concerned with, is hopefully he's spending his time casting a wide net, right? Because if we strike out, if we go 0 for 100 on 4-star guys, and before you know it, all some of these other guys are already committed and looking elsewhere. So you certainly don't want to put all your eggs in that basket. So he's going to have a bit of a different strategy, I think, than at Auburn. My perception of Auburn, Mike, I didn't go there, I haven't recruited there, but that my perception was they decided between which of the 4-star tackles they wanted. Here at UCF, Gus is trying to get one of the 4-star tackles to come to UCF, and I think that perception maybe isn't accurate. But we'll see if he can pull that off, because I think that will be the perhaps one of the biggest changes he'll face in recruiting is having to go get the guys versus sometimes the guys just kind of walking in and saying, I want to go to Auburn.
Yeah, well, my perception of those schools like in the SEC are they get whatever guy they want to pay for.
Fair, yeah, fair.
And I don't know. Hopefully Gus is doing things the right way here, but I'm sure there was probably some going around the system. And when he was at Auburn and some places like that, not everybody plays fair. Hopefully he does the right things and is still able to attract the top level guys here.
By the way, Mike, it's been an exciting first week for Gus. I mean, every day seems like there's new news. There's a new staff member we're looking at. A new recruiting offer went out. So it's certainly an exciting time. This is typically the time where things are pretty dull, and we'd be kind of speculating and wondering what's happening. But it's been an exciting time. We still have a couple more weeks probably of this to go before we have anything sort of die down here as we work up the spring game. So it's been fun. I've enjoyed the ride. Hopefully everybody else has too. We will do our darndest around here to keep you covered on all the things that are happening with the football program. But we're going to take a quick pause here, and when we return, other sports are playing too. Basketball, baseball, both in action this weekend. We'll review that. We'll say where we are. Don't move. Sons UCF. All right, don't blink just yet, Mike. But the UCF hoops team, the men's team, the ladies team, by the way, is crushing it. We should probably talk about them more than the men's team. They're starting to get it together. We saw a dominant win against the Cows last week at home, and then we go to a Tulane team and we scratch and we claw and we fight, Mike, and we pull out another victory there. So 2 in a row for UCF. And do we think that these guys are showing some life, Mike? Do we think there's any hope here?
Hey, we won 4 of the last 6, going back even further, and those 2 losses are by 1 point each. Easily could be looking at a 6-game winning streak now at the last half of the season. We're 8-11. We got a shot to get back at 500 for this season. The schedule coming up, the SMU game has been postponed, I believe. And so you got Temple, Tulsa, and East Carolina to end the year. Temple is not a good team. We blew that game against them earlier in the year. Tulsa, we've beaten already. This time we get them at home. And East Carolina is a bad team. So potential now to finish at 500 with this team. That was unthinkable 2 weeks in a row when we were losing, what was it? Like 9 out of 10 games in one span. The team is looking a lot better. How much did that 2 weeks of no games when we had the COVID factor into this team? It seems now that we've caught our rhythm a little bit. And yes, the schedule has lightened up. The team has definitely shown improvement.
Yeah, the Tulane game was highlighted by the AAC Freshman of the Week, Mike. That was Isaiah Adams. He had been getting we'd kind of chronicled his minutes a little bit. He had been getting spot minutes here and there, Mike. He came off the bench and basically just went unconscious for a while there. Scored 26 points. I think he started 10 for 10 from the floor, 2 from 4 from 3. I mean, he was on fire. He was playing really well. Darius Perry played really well. Darren Green Jr. hit a couple of early threes. And a tough road win. Tulane's, not a terrible team, but they're certainly a scrappy team and a team that can fight. And UCF kind of hung in there, but Isaiah Adams, he was absolutely the difference maker. Shot 10 of 11 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 boards, and 5 assists as well. So he had a monster game, Mike. And if that kid, it seems like we've had a struggle putting games together with everybody, and it seems like against the Cows and against Tulane, we had multiple contributions. You had him with 26. You had Perry with 20. Again, I mentioned Darren Green Jr., 4 of 10 from 3. It's probably the best he's shot in a while. C.J. Walker, he put together a monster game against the Cows. Another good game here. He had 14 points. Gotten a little bit of extracurricular activity I could do without, but still put 14 points in and shot 6 of 7 from the line. And Mike, if these guys can bring it together, maybe we steal a game or two in the tournament. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what we're playing for now. It's to end the season strong and make a little run in the tournament. And like I mentioned on Thursday night, this conference is a good conference, but outside of Houston, every other team I think is beatable. We can beat, and we have beat teams like Cincinnati and Tulane. We should have beat Wichita one of those 2 times at least. We had both of those games in our grasp, and we let them get away. Memphis is tough. We've been playing on the road, but even the second time we played them, we saw a big improvement. There's no team on here that I say absolutely we cannot beat except for Houston. We just beat the Cows. We just beat Tulane. So getting into the conference tournament, get a decent seed, I can see us winning a game or 2 in there.
Yeah, if we can just put together a complete game, right? I mean, it seems like there's been a guy every game who's played really well, and the other guys around him have not. And if you think about the common denominator of the wins we've had multiple guys who have put it together on the same night. And I think that's where we're best as a team. If we can get 1, 2, even 3 guys who are just clicking offensively, we're pretty scrappy. We're a pretty good defensive team. We're young. We're athletic. Guys got a lot of length, long arms. Not the best rebounding team at times, but we've got some ability on the defensive end. If we can just get offense and find 2 or 3 guys to be consistent, if it's Mahan and Walker and Green and Perry and Adams, somewhere in that combination. 2 or 3 of those guys who are just having a good night. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. When they throw the ball up in the air, I think we can probably play with anybody. And let's not forget, Houston's been beaten a few different times this year by teams that should not have beaten them. So as much as they've had our number, don't forget we played them really close early in the year, and sort of our inexperience gave it away down the stretch. So who knows? I guess that's the fun of March Madness, right? When you get into the March calendar, you never know what can happen. You never know what team can come out on top. But you got to love the fight from these guys, Mike. You got to love that they're hanging in there. I know we wrote them off multiple times throughout the year, but just when you write them off, that they seem to come back and do something really good. So 3 left on the schedule: the 27th, Temple, March 2nd, Tulsa, and then the wrap up at ECU on March 4th. So 3 winnable games, Mike, that leads into the tournament, which is, I believe it tips off on March 11th. So definitely good to see UCF at least with some positive momentum as we head into to the March cycle.
Absolutely. Let's try to, looking at the standings right now, Wichita is actually the number 1 seed in the conference. It's all going to depend on matchups. So right now we are the number 8 seed. Does everybody get into this conference tournament, or how does it work? Do you remember?
I think so.
Is it only the top 8 teams?
I think so, but I don't know if there's a bye situation where the top 2 teams get a bye or something like that.
Well, there's only 11 teams, so somebody's got to have a bye in the first round. I don't remember if it's just the top team or top 3 teams maybe. So we may end up seeing the Cows in the first round. That'd be a fun game. We beat them in the conference tournament, and then maybe we get a matchup. We match up well with Wichita State. I know they have the best record in the conference, but we've lost 2 very close games and games we should have won. The ones went to double overtime. We had them. So you never know. And if somebody else can knock off Houston for us, maybe there's a magical run. Somehow we get into the big dance. if we can pull off 3 or 4 tough games. We have the young guys. We have the talent on this team. We just got to be able to put it all together.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about matchups. You're right. It's all about matchups and who's, which UCF team shows up. And I guess we'll see what that turns out to be. Again, I'm trying to figure out the format for the tournament here. I can't see it on the conference website, so I don't know what that looks like. But the matchups obviously are going to be huge, and we'll see what that ultimately holds for UCF. But whatever team shows up is going to be interesting. But you got to give it to the guys, Mike. They've been fighting. I mean, I'll give them that. I think a couple weeks ago we had said that the season was pretty much over, and we were kind of writing it off. And they keep finding ways to do some great stuff. So let's see what they can do. Adams looks exciting. Let's see what he has. I guess we'll keep ourselves all in tune, Mike. But the baseball season also kicked off this weekend, Mike, with a 3-game stretch against the FAU Owls. First game was here in Orlando, and then 2 on the road in Boca. I know you were actually at the Sunday game, Mike. But the Friday and Saturday games didn't really go so well for UCF.
No, the Friday night game, we went down early due to some errors. Ended up hanging on a grand slam right in the game and late in the 7th, 8th inning. It's a 5-5 ball game. Then the wheels start falling off a little bit. It gets a little out of hand. We lose 12-6. Those things happen. The Saturday game, we go up 12 runs in the 2nd inning. There's a kid on FAU in his first 2 collegiate at-bats hit grand slams. Fernando Tatis style, 2 grand slams in 1 inning. He hit on us in the 2nd inning of that game. We were down 17-3, but actually fought back and made it not a nail-biter, but 20-15 final. Trace was at that game. He said the guys were fighting. They still showed a lot of energy in that game, and that's good to see the fight. You never want to lose a series. You never want to lose the first 2 games. But like I told him that day, even the 98 Yankees lost the first 2 games of the season. And baseball is a funny game. Sometimes things like that happen. You lose a couple games early. Doesn't mean the season's over. This is not football. It's not even basketball where you lose a couple of games and people want to say the season's done. Baseball is a completely different animal. It's weekend to weekend here. So the team showed fight. They came back on Sunday. That was the game I was at, and put up 15 runs of their own, answered back. The offense has not been a problem. We scored 36 runs this weekend. That should be able to get you more than 1 win. But when you give up 38, it's a tough one. But, yeah, give FAU credit, man. FAU's got a good lineup. They got a good team. They're picked to win Conference USA, who, as we know, is a good baseball conference. So it's not like we were playing Siena and got beat up and gave up 38 runs. Played against a pretty decent team, a team that's probably going to be in the regionals too. And maybe we'll see them again. We do play them one more time later in the year in Orlando. So we can win that game. We even up the series with them. It won't hurt our RPI too much.
Well, luckily we have a pretty easy tilt this upcoming weekend, right?
Yeah. We only play the number 1 team in the country in Ole Miss this weekend.
Oh.
And don't forget Stetson. Stetson, the midweek game, that is not an easy one either. So the schedule is not easy. But if we can pull off the midweek game against Stetson, we have a little confidence now, winning 2 in a row, even the record up back at 2-2. And then the true test going into Ole Miss, the number 1 team in the country. And we've seen this baseball team in the last few years play to a level of competition. I expect us to compete in those games and pull 1 off. Maybe we win 2 and go from there. Then the season really takes off.
What was the atmosphere like down in Boca? I don't know, first time, you probably got a chance to see a baseball game there in a while at the Boca Stadium there. What was the crowd like? Pro UCF, a lot of UCF fans, just you and Tracy yucking it up, just a couple of nights just cutting it up there. What'd you have?
Yeah, they did not allow full capacity. I don't even know what percentage they sold tickets for. It was sold out technically, but it was definitely less than 50% or less. We sat out on the berm, so we brought our lawn chairs and we hung out there. So this way we weren't too close to everybody. We were kind of spread out from the rest of the crowd. Atmosphere was there was no atmosphere. We were just hanging out watching the game. Had a couple of hot dogs. The kids were running around in the grass a little bit. It was a 4-hour game. It was long. The kids got a little bored there by like 6th inning. But it was a good time. I enjoyed it. Nice weather. There was a nice breeze. It actually got a little cool there late in the game when the sun kind of went away. But it was a good time, man. Good to be out at a sporting event.
It's also because you had no shirt on.
Well, I had a shirt.
Well,
it didn't have sleeves.
That's fair. It didn't have sleeves and neck and a lot of other things on it. But no, look like a good time. Obviously, it's cool when I know for those folks, those of us who don't live in Orlando, whenever UCF gets up near where you live, it's always cool to be able to get out and watch a game. Even more challenging this year, obviously with the COVID stuff. But glad you got a chance. You caught up with the one, the only Trace Trelko as well. What's the experience like watching a ball game with Trace Trelko?
I enjoyed hanging out with Trace, man. He's a good guy. He really loves UCF sports. You can tell he would get nervous during the game a little bit. He was kind of he was into it. And anytime UCF did something wrong, you could see him get upset visibly. But it was fun, man. And then he's one of these guys that was counting outs. He asked me, "Do you count outs during the game?" I said, "Yeah, sometimes. After the seventh inning, I try to see how much longer we need to go and what we need to get done." And he's one of these guys that he was counting out. All right, we need 6 more now. We need 5 more. I was having a good time with him on that one. But yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun. Good to be out at the game. I haven't been to the last 2 UCF sporting events I've been to now have been on the same campus at FAU. So for me, it's an easy drive. It's 15 minutes. I was actually looking at the softball schedule. UCF softball is here in March. Maybe I'll talk to the girls into going to that one. They just started playing softball themselves. Maybe they'll be interested in it. But yeah, it was a good day. Good Sundays. Good to be out at the ballpark. Have a couple hot dogs. Although those hot dogs were not good. I got to tell you, the FAU concessions and the stadium itself, I was not impressed with. I thought, for some reason in my head, I thought FAU had a good baseball stadium. It was not that nice. And the concession stand was one food truck. Not even a food truck. Just, I don't know what you want to call it, behind home plate, and the hot dogs were not good. The nachos were not good. Luckily, my wife smuggled in some sushi for herself, or else she would have been very upset throughout the day. So we got that taken care of, but I should have brought my own food in too.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I don't even really know where to begin the follow-up questions. All I'll say is this. If you are a sports fan, if you are a diehard sports fan like one Trace Chucko might be, you are in heaven right now at UCF because there are so many sports going on right now. Again, you mentioned softball, you mentioned baseball, women's volleyball, both men's and women's soccer. Tennis is going on right now. Obviously, there's a bunch of football news. You still have men's and women's basketball. The women's basketball team, Coach Abe, 100th victory at UCF. There's just so much UCF sports going on right now that if you are a diehard UCF sports fan, this is the calendar time for you. COVID has given us probably there's only one gift here, and there's just a ton of sports just being packed in right now. A lot to keep up with, but you're in luck here. Again, we'll keep you posted on things, and go to that Sons of UCF YouTube channel to hear Trace's exclusive interviews. I think he's got women's soccer, softball, men's soccer, and baseball all posted in the last couple of weeks. So go check out those previews if you want to learn more about all of those sports. And don't forget to join us live every Thursday night for our Sons of UCF live show. Bit of a different show. It's me, Mike, and Trace. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We try to bring on guests that are in the news that week. Obviously, a lot of football stuff the last couple of weeks, but you never know who will pop on live with us on Thursday night. So make sure you find that wherever you get all that information and wherever you want to look at that stuff. But let's take a brief pause here, Mike, and after that, interview time for one of the best to ever do it at UCF. Don't go anywhere. We are the Sons of UCF, and we're coming right back.
The Suns have a new interview. Listen up.
All right, so I don't really know the words I would use to describe our guest this evening, Mike. Maybe smooth would be a word, but what I would tell you is this guy got it done on the field. So just some bona fides if you want to educate yourself. He is the record holder in yards per carry at UCF with 6.5. He has 2,500 rushing yards to his credit. That ranks him 5th all-time at UCF, and he has 28 rushing touchdowns. And that ranks him 4th all-time at UCF and is the one and the only Mr. Greg McCrae. Greg, first off, thanks for taking some time to join us on the show tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you guys taking out the time.
Well, thank you. Let's start with how you ended up at UCF. You had a kind of an interesting story. I know you originally committed to Navy and then decided to walk on at UCF. Describe your journey and how you ended up at UCF.
I mean, really just started at Navy, trying to play ball there and, going there, it was tough. Um, it's a really good school, but I couldn't find myself being there, doing that with my life, for however long it would have been. So I decided to make a decision to leave and ended up, at UCF.
Yeah, what drew you to UCF? Was that someplace you looked at high school? I know you're from Miramar, right? So you're right in UCF's backyard.
Yeah.
Were they recruiting you to high school? And I guess what made you decide that was the spot for you?
No, actually, because Navy was my only offer in high school. So when I was getting recruited by a coach named Javon DeWitt from Army, and he ended up leaving Army and going to UCF. So when I was leaving Navy, I just reached out to him, and we formed a communication. Well, we already had a communication going on from when he was at Army. When he was at Army. So it was nothing for us to for me to just pick up the phone and call him and talk to him, and for him to be able to get me out there as a walk on.
Wait, you only had one offer. How was everyone sleeping on you, Greg? How'd you only get one offer? Was everyone just snoozing on you down there?
I mean, I wish I could tell you. I don't know, but I mean, it made me who I am today, so I'm not complaining about it.
The 2017 team, obviously, it goes undefeated. So many great memories from that whole season. If I told you could just pick one, what's the one thing that really sticks out to you from that year?
The championship game with Trey Neal catching the final interception. And then even in the Peach Bowl, I remember at the end of the game, our defense was on the field, and just seeing Shaquem, he was super tired, but he dig deep in there to keep playing and playing his behind off to for his teammates, and it just showed to tell us the type of guy he was every day. So I mean, just trying to pick one memory is kind of hard because there were so many great ones that year.
Well, it was a special year. Obviously, that was a special team, and after that 1 year, you get a whole new coaching staff. A whole new group comes in, Coach Heupel and all that crew. What was that transition like for you, going 1 year, such a memorable year into a new coaching staff? What was that like?
It was different. Just going from because we had an undefeated season, so being able to going from an undefeated season. And, usually when you have an undefeated season, you usually keep your coach. But, this time we were going through a whole new staff change. So it was different just, going from, Coach Frost and staff and having such a successful season and then losing guys like, Shaquem, Traquan, Mike, into a whole new coaching staff and, having to learn these guys' ways, the way that they go about business, the way they want things done, learn new offense, learn to do defense. So, I mean, it was different in that aspect, but I mean, the competition level, the fierceness and competitiveness on the field that we brought every day was always the same.
Well, I remember a lot of UCF fans started really hearing about you in that spring game, that 2018 season. You were, one of the breakout stars of the spring game, and your name started to get talked about a bunch, but how much? I mean, you guys had such a loaded running back room, in 18, 19, even in 2020. How much did having all those guys in that room with you kind of push you and sort of, drive you to continue to get better because you knew there was so much competition, just walking around your own locker room?
Yeah, those guys pushed me every single day, to be the best version of myself. I think we all pushed each other, just being able to be around each other, and it was genuine. There was no hate or any bad blood between us. We all wanted each other to succeed and be the best that we could be. So we all worked together collectively and tried to emulate things from each other's games and just just play for each other. It was like real genuine love in that room, and it just helped all of us just strive and be great because we just wanted each other to succeed just that bad. We honestly didn't really care who was in the game because we just knew that the work that we put in every day in practice would show once we got on the field, and that no matter who was in there, that we would produce. So it was just a good genuine love around that running back room, and we just all pushed each other every single day to be better every day.
Did you feel like you had an extra sort of chip on your shoulder, kind of being the walk-on, the guy who, didn't get scholarship offers? Did you kind of run and sort of play with that chip on your shoulder as you were competing with those guys?
Yeah, of course. Because like I said, I wasn't recruited out of high school. So I had a chip on my shoulder coming out of high school. Not being recruited, and to be honest, even before that, I've had a lot of people doubt me since I was younger. So I've always had a chip on my shoulder, and I feel like it's just grown more and more as I've gone through my career, my football career, at each level, and just trying to be the best version of myself and prove to myself first that that I'm better than what everybody thinks of me, or like prove to myself that that I could really do what I want to do if I work for it. So that's the chip that hangs on my shoulder, just proving to myself first that I could do it, no matter what people say about me or what they think about me. Like, I don't let the words define me. I just go out there and try to compete and be the best version of myself.
What's it like splitting carries with so many other guys? You got McGowan in there, you got AK, you got Otis. Does it take you out of your rhythm? Maybe if you go in there and you might not go back in for a couple of series in a row?
No, it's actually fun because sometimes, like, when you get the other guys in there, sometimes you get to be able to talk to those players and like kind of get a sense of like what they're seeing, what I'm seeing, and we get to talk and figure out some solutions while we're on the sideline. Maybe they got some plays that I didn't get, and we could talk about those plays, and or like plays that we're both getting and saying like, okay, this play is working, but this one isn't, and then we could come together collectively and probably go talk to our coach and be like, okay, these are the plays that are working against this and that, and it's not just like we just work together, and it really helped us out a lot, and it kept us fresh too, because not one running back was getting pounded up on multiple times in a game. We all shared the love, we shared the load, and was able to stay fresh, so that when the final minutes came down to it, we were able to, if we needed to, we were able to 2 out the clock and play fast for the whole game.
You were unstoppable. That's the last 6 games of the 2018 season. You had 188 yards against Temple, 181 with 3 touchdowns against the Cows, 204 in the championship game. What's it like to be in a zone like that, like the way you were in 2018?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, because a lot of the games I didn't really know that I was running for that many yards. Like, because like once you're in the game, like you're just playing. You're not really looking at the stats or anything like that. So like I was really just in the zone, just playing. Like I didn't even know that I ran for 200 against Memphis until like I think like when we went to media. Like I didn't even know I ran for that many yards, because you're just in the zone playing. So I mean, I don't really know if I answered your question, but it's just you just get a feel for the game and you just go out there and play.
Baseball players it seems like the ball just seems bigger. Do the holes just seem like they open up faster? Are you seeing things better? Is it any different when you're in a zone like that?
So when it's just, well, really, that's just an understanding of the offense and where things are going to be, or how things are going to hit based off what you're running and how the other team is lined up. So sometimes you can know, depending on leverage and film study, where holes open up before they even happen. Just based off things like that. So I mean, I feel like my knowledge of the game and just time that I put in studying helped me in that aspect.
Yeah, I love the patience you showed just waiting for the hole open. You were great at that. The LSU game, obviously we finally lose a game after 2 seasons of not losing a game. What happened that day? It looked like we jumped on them early, and then they seemed to just outmuscle us, I guess, the rest of the way. What was your perspective on that one?
They that was a good team. They fought to the end. Like you said, we jumped out, but once we jumped out, we didn't continue to control the momentum of that game, and the tide shifted, and they took advantage. That was just a team going out there and playing their butts off, and then that day they wanted it more than us. And then that day they just wanted it more than us. So it was we wanted it, and we were fighting for it, but at the end of the day, they came out, they had a good game plan for us, and they just continued to play for the full 4 quarters, and ended up coming out with the win. That's part of life. It's part of football. You win some, you lose some, and that was just one of the ones that we ended up losing.
Great. Help me settle the debate that I have with myself all the time. I want to go back to that 2018 Cal game for a second. I can never decide which of your first 2 touchdowns I like more. The one where you juke the guy in the open field and basically just run her up the middle, or the second one where you get to the outside, looks like guys are pursuing you, and you just hit the jets and run into the corner there. Which of those 2 do you like more?
Which game are you talking? I have no idea what you're talking about, honestly.
The 2018 game against USF.
Oh,
so you had the first TD, you broke up in the middle and you juked that guy.
Yeah, probably that one because the guy I juked was actually one of my old teammates in Little League football. So I kind of messed with him for a little bit about that one. So.
And then you became a UCF legend when you got to the end zone. You did horns down, which I don't know if many people had done that in the past. Obviously, those 2 schools hadn't played for a long time. When did you decide ahead of time you're going to go horns down? Is it something just kind of happened in the moment? How did you decide you're going to throw the horns down when you got in the end zone?
Honestly, I don't remember. I think that was just in the moment type of thing. I was just super excited, and a rival game, so it just was something that just came out here, and I just did it because I'm not really a big celebration type of guy because I can't dance. So I just it just came to my head, and I just did it.
Did coaches get on you for that at all? Was anybody giving you any talking? Okay, perfect. I'm glad. All right.
No, they loved it.
You can't tell with that hypo guy sometimes. Speaking of hypo, obviously, 2018, it was rumored, and you can clear this up a little bit, that the offense you guys were running in 2018 was a bit of a hybrid, right? There was still some terminology left over from sort of the 2017 Frost offense, and but in 2019, was the system different? Was it kind of a fully integrated hypo system, or were there still some wrinkles that were thrown in from the past teams in 2017 and 18?
Our offense is pretty much the same. They just tweak certain things, and continue to add to the playbook like every team does. Every week is different. Every opponent you play is different. So you add new things to the playbook, and that's just football, though. That's nothing different from one program to the next. Of course, you have your base plays, which every team has, but like I said, you just adjust from week to week. So I wouldn't say that it was like a full changeover of playbooks or anything like that. It was just we just continue to try to mold our game to our opponent. Well, we try to adjust and make things and tweak our game a little bit to our opponent so that we can attack their weaknesses.
Hypo obviously always keeps things close to the vest, doesn't reveal any injuries. But in 2019, you missed a couple games there. How injured were you, and what exactly was wrong?
So that year I hurt my knee in I think it was the ECU game.
Yeah.
I was out for a couple weeks. I actually don't even remember how long I was out for, but I was out for a couple weeks, and then if I'm not mistaken, we had a bye week after, but it was a pretty serious injury. Like I couldn't. It was just hard for me to walk on it for about like a week or two. I was in a brace, and yeah, I mean, like that was pretty much it. Like I was just embracing it, just trying to work my way back into playing shape and playing football. Really, moving around my leg because it was in a brace for like a week and a half, maybe two. So it was just I had to really like just get myself back into learning how to run again, and it didn't take long, but when your leg is cooped up for that long, it takes a while. So they just wanted to make sure that I was 100% before they put me back out on the field, and wanted to make sure I was in the best situation.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Were you 100% to end the season there, or just you needed to get back out on the field to end the season?
No, at the end of the season, I was fine. I was completely fine. Like I didn't have no problems at all. Like they made sure I would say that they made sure that I was they didn't put anything at risk or put me in jeopardy or anything. They made sure that I was 100% ready to play. Like they took care and made sure that I was all right. Even when I wanted to play, they or like practice something like that, they wouldn't let me. They was like, we want to make sure that everything's okay, and they took care of me.
All right, take us into this past offseason. Going into 2020, you guys are supposed to have spring ball, and everything is canceled. COVID hits and throws everything for a loop. You guys have to go home and train on your own. What was this offseason like for you?
A lot different, because we couldn't. Are you talking about the quarantine part, or are you talking about?
Yeah.
We actually okay. Yeah, quarantine. Yeah, this was a lot different. I am lucky enough to have like weights at my house. I have a bench and I could turn to a squat rack, and I have a couple dumbbells. So I was able to text my strength coach, and he was very helpful with the way helping like us like playing workouts and things like that. And I was very fortunate to have those weights, so I was able to do a lot of things that he sent. But a lot of players didn't have that luxury. So working out for them, I'm pretty sure was a lot tougher than it was for me. I feel like I came back in like really, really good shape because I pushed myself really hard during the quarantine process. It wasn't nothing to do, so I literally was just working out. I feel like I said, I felt like I came back in like really, really good shape. That was probably that was the best that I felt in my 4 years. Just coming when we got back to school.
Yeah, to take us back to that campus town, we talked to Trey and Jacob, and they were describing kind of their experience. I know as fans, we all we care about really is the games, right? But you guys were living, basically in a bubble, by yourselves, Sunday through Friday before game days. Take us through that experience. What was that like? Practice, going to meetings and stuff, and kind of trying to live life in the midst of everything going on, but still trying to play football too.
It was a lot different because it was so many things that you had to think about or be aware of before you you do it. Just as simple, it was literally just as simple as just going out to get something to eat. It was just you didn't want to put yourself in the wrong environment, and it's nothing wrong with that. Getting some food, but it just showed how easily it was able for like COVID to get transmitted. It was a lot of players that that got over the season, and it's like they literally didn't know where it came from. So it was just so different. Every day you came into the building, you had to get your temperature checked. If you even feel like the slightest bit of sick, they'll send you home because, it was just, that's just how serious the precautions were, and rightfully so. But it was just so much that you had to think about things that you couldn't do, that, in any other year you wouldn't even, be paying it that you wouldn't even be paying attention at all, even like things such as because after a game, you want to celebrate your win sometimes, but even then it's like you couldn't really you'll celebrate with your team, but after that that was pretty much it. So it was a lot of things that we just couldn't do because of the scenario and just not wanting to risk getting other teammates sick or putting them at risk also.
Season got off to a really good start. You guys had a really good performance against Georgia Tech, and then next week against ECU, you guys did something I'd never seen before, and obviously overcame it. But there was just a litany of false start penalties in that ECU game, and I know a lot of fans were out there trying to figure out what happened that day. There was a lot of chatter about they were mimicking the snap count, all that stuff. What was going on early on against ECU? What do you think was causing some of that initial false start penalty itis that impacted us?
I'm honestly not really sure. I don't really know. Yeah, because I mean the biggest difference between most years and this year was just that we didn't really have fans, so it's like you could hear a lot more on the field than usual. So I honestly can't really give you like a definite answer, but I know once we went into a clap cadence, all the problems were solved. Like we didn't have any more problems with false starts or anything like that. Because there were teams that were trying to like mimic our snap count, and like usually you don't really like hear that when you have fans, because like you just kind of like locked in. But I mean, I can't really give you like a definite answer because I don't really know. I just know that once we went to a clap cadence, everything was fine. Like we didn't. I'm not even sure if we had false start after that. I'm not really sure. I don't know. But yeah.
When you look back on the 2020 season, and 10 years from now, you're talking to your friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids, whatever, about 2020. How will you remember this season? How will you look back on it? Because obviously it was unique. It was different. How will you remember 2020 as a football season?
I would say that it was a season that for us going in, I feel like we were and I still feel like this. I feel like we were the best team in college football. We just couldn't put it together, and it was a whole bunch of things that were thrown at us, a whole bunch of things adversity. But at the end of the day, we weren't able to push through that and get the wins that we needed to solidify ourselves as one of the best teams in college football and put ourselves in a position to be able to be called that. So, it was just like I said, it was just a totally different year with the COVID things going on. And, one week a guy was here, the next week they're not. And, like I said, like we felt like we was the best team in college football, but we weren't able to execute. And, it ended up being a disappointing way to end the season. I don't even know what our record was. I think it was like 6-4. But, we knew we were better than that. And it was just disappointing. But, the only thing we could do from it, and those guys can do from it, is learn from it and, like, use that as fuel and continue to push and, just try to get better from that, So that's how I see it.
You had another year of eligibility if you wanted it. You decided to go pro. Were you aware of how high up in the UCF record books you are? Was there any thought of coming back and maybe trying to break these records? I'm looking at them right now. You're number 3 all-time in rushing. You could pass Alex Haynes if you had another year, maybe even 2,000 yards. You get to Kevin Smith's all-time record. You're already the leader in average per carry. You're right there in touchdowns. You're number 3. Any thoughts in your mind of coming back for next season, or your mind was made up?
Yeah, I definitely had thoughts about coming back. I mean, like my thoughts about coming back were I probably didn't actually make up my mind that I was going to declare for the draft until about probably like 4 or 5 days before I actually declared or put it out on social media that I declared. If even that long, maybe it was probably like three days before. But yeah, I definitely thought about coming back, using that extra year, and trying. I didn't really care about the records. I didn't care about that. That wasn't something that I was chasing. I wasn't chasing records or anything like that. I felt like this was the best opportunity for me to come out and try to, pursue the NFL. I felt like everything, I felt like I've done everything that I could have at UCF. I've been the same consistent running back for 4 years. So, I don't feel like there was much more left for me to do there. And I was just ready to take that next step and, hopefully make everybody proud.
What was your reaction when you heard that Josh Heupel was leaving? Did that take you by surprise? I know a lot of fans didn't expect it. What was the reaction between you and some of your teammates when you heard it?
Well, I didn't really talk to them about it. I haven't really talked to any players about him leaving. I kind of don't really engage in conversations about it because I like for the players to kind of live in the moment. So but the business of football, the people come and go all the time. I don't really know what to say about that. I'm happy. I'm super happy for him. I even talked to him recently and wished him good luck, and he said the same for me. And I'm happy for him to have the opportunity. But in college football, football, college itself, is just change is always going to happen. So that's just the nature of the business. So, I'm happy for him.
What do you think about Malzahn coming in? You have any thoughts on any reaction on him coming in? Was that a surprise to you?
I don't really have any thoughts on it, honestly. When the season comes, we'll see. Look forward to seeing him there, though. He has a good track record. He's done a lot of good things at Auburn. We played him too. So hopefully when I go down for pro day, I get to meet him and kind of rub it in his face a little bit. So.
Well, Greg, you mentioned pro day. Take us inside what you're doing now. What's training like, and how are you getting yourself prepared for the upcoming NFL draft?
Yeah, I'm down in Naples training at a place called Total Athletic Performance. We got named Derek, and he's been helping me every single day. He gives everything that he has to me, just trying to make me better, bigger, stronger, faster, and just getting me better every single day. He's real genuine. He knows what he's doing. Very technical. I love being here, and I'm really just looking forward to pro day. And there's a lot of different things that I'm doing here that I haven't done before, but I can see the improvements in me already from when I first got here to now.
Greg, you seem like a really nice guy, so you probably aren't going to say it, but I'll say it for you. There was an article. I don't even know where it was anymore. They were posting a draft analysis, and I read this profile on you, and I know it pissed me off. Again, you're a nice guy. You probably won't say that, but when you read or hear stuff like that, I know you tweeted out that you use that as motivation. You've been counted out your whole life. What was your reaction, or what do you think when you hear people say stuff like that about you, particularly that article where I'm going to go on a limb and say that guy didn't watch a ton of tape on Greg McCrae at UCF, but what were your thoughts when you kind of heard or read about that article?
Like I said, I said it. People doubted me my whole life. That was whoever wrote it. That was their opinion of me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I read something else today that literally said basically the exact opposite of what he said. But at the end of the day, that opinion doesn't matter either. It's just, I know what type of person I am, and I use that as fuel to continue to push me every single day, and try to be the best version of myself every single day. That just continues to grow the chip on my shoulder and continue to make me strive and push and just try to be better. So like I say, it doesn't matter what was said. I know what type of person I am, and the hard work that I put in, and I just use that as fuel. That's all I can say about it.
And the last one, how would you describe, if someone asked you to describe your 4 years at UCF, how would you put into words your time at UCF and what that experience meant to you?
My experience at UCF over 4 years was amazing. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't choose any other school. I wouldn't choose any other path. Just the way everything played out, the way everything just unfolded, the people I've met, the coaches I've played for and been able to learn from. It was a lot of great coaches that came to UCF, a lot of great people that came to UCF, staff. Everybody there was genuine and cared about you and wanted to see you succeed far past football. That's football or your sport or anything. They wanted to see you succeed as people in life, and I'm just very grateful that I've had the opportunity to go there. That's been the best decision of my life, was choosing to go to UCF by far.
All right, well, we end every interview with a couple of fun questions, kind of rapid fire, random questions. Could be music, movies, sports. It could be really, you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes we don't even know what we're going to ask until we ask it. So here's my first one for you. UCF was known for a lot of different uniform combinations. Did you have a favorite uniform combination that you liked in your time at UCF?
My favorite was always the space uniforms, but if we're going to keep that out of it, it was all black with gold helmets.
Oh, big game gold. Okay, nice.
What's your favorite sport to watch besides football? You a fan of any of the other ones?
I like basketball.
What's your team?
Well,
you have a team, or you just root for guys?
No. I'm Miami, so I'm a Heat guy.
Heat fan. There we go.
But I like watching other guys too.
All right, Greg. I'm not sure if this is a sore spot for you, but do you ever wake up at night and dream about that Stanford guy chasing you down instead of scoring a touchdown? Does that still haunt you at all?
Every day I run my 40. I think about it. So yeah, it bothers me every day.
Listen, I've run from here to my couch. So, do you just get tired halfway through? Are you just trying to hold on, or are you just trying to outweave the guy? What's your strategy as you get further down the field and maybe you're losing a step or two? Are you just trying to hold on and hope that maybe he falls down?
Yeah, because usually when I break, I look at the big screen just to see where other guys are. So I seen him coming, but I was so tired. So my whole thing was just not to drop the ball, just not to fumble the ball. So I just held on to it, and yeah, that's all I can say about that.
When you get back to the sidelines, Otis, AK, are they giving you a bunch of crap about not getting to the house?
Yes, all the time. They're annoying, but it's okay.
Hey, you took one to the house in this game that you just played in. After the season was over, you returned a kick for a touchdown. I remember you returning a few kicks for us early. Is that something you enjoy doing? How come we didn't see you returning more often?
Yeah, I love returning kicks, but we had a lot of guys on our team that were able to do it. So I wasn't complaining about it. That was just something that we had. We had a lot of guys that were able to do it. So we love to share the ball at UCF. So it wasn't something that just had to be done. We had guys that were capable of returning kicks at any time.
All right, getting back to the silliness. What toppings do you put on your pizza?
Pepperoni, ham, and bacon.
Nice.
Meat lovers.
Yeah, I like. Usually if it's just pepperoni, but if I go to Blaze, I put the ham and the bacon on it too.
Greg, you seem like such a mild mannered, just a nice guy. Seem like not a lot really gets you angry. Do you have any pet peeves, like people who leave shopping carts and open parking spaces? Somebody doesn't hold the door open for it. Do you have a pet peeve, something that gets you angry every time?
Pet peeve of mine. I don't think so. I don't let a lot of things bother me. I can't. I think something will have to happen for me to say I do. But off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything that just makes me upset every single time it happens.
Well.
All right, we've had Trey Nixon on last week. We had Jacob Harris on a couple weeks ago. These guys are betting each other who's going to run the fastest time. You know both of them.
Somehow, you know what's crazy? Somehow I knew this was gonna come. When you told me that them two were on to on your call, I'm like, I just know it because I know them too. Like they just talk about. I just know it. I just knew it. I knew it was coming. I'm running the fastest 40. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay, taking yourself out of it. Those two. You don't have a pick?
I'm running.
To put money down?
I'm running the fastest 40, but I was off of them two. I'm gonna go with Jacob.
How is somebody that big so fast, Greg? Could you explain that to me? I mean, he's like a pterodactyl out there. How is he so fast?
I honestly don't. He's honestly a freak of nature. I mean, he could jump. He could run. He's quick. He's strong. He's super strong too. Like I don't. He has great hands. I really don't know. He's just a specimen.
How often are you staying in touch with those guys? I know, obviously, it's kind of cool for you guys and obviously us as fans, but you, Jacob, Trey, Richie, Otis, just a bunch of guys, Aaron Robinson, just going through the draft process now. How often are you guys all staying in touch, texting back and forth, encouraging each other, kind of keeping tabs on each other right now?
Yeah, we all talk often. I just talked to Trey, I think yesterday. Jacob probably like the day before that. Otis I talked to every day. Richie I talked to like a week ago. Like so we all stay in contact and talk a lot. Even Marlon and A-Rod, we all talk and check up on each other and see how things have been going and just sometimes just sit down and just talk about stuff that isn't even like the draft process, just about like our life or just crack a little funny joke here and there. So it's been we all talk. It's a real tight group.
All right, last one. This is my new favorite question for all you guys. Do you have a favorite Josh Heupalism? Is it go 1-0? Is it snap to whistle? Is it compete in all three phases of the game? Is it say +1 on the scoreboard? Do you have a favorite Heupalism that he used to say all the time?
One of my favorite ones that he used to say is "I." If you listen to a lot of his talks in front of the team, he say "I" a lot. And I remember one time I just counted it out on my fingers. I think I counted like 15 in like a 30-second span. So that's probably one of them.
That's a good one. Yeah, he did say that all the time.
I feel like he changed it up though. After I think year one he was doing a lot of snap to whistle, and then I think year two he kind of, I don't know if he retired it, and then he was going +1 on the scoreboard on us all the time. And so did he retire? Did he introduce new ones to you guys all the time, or is there a time where you're like, oh, that one's new, or was he kind of really mixing it up with which one he was going to use each day?
I mean, a lot of things he usually said it was the same over a couple of years. He always reiterated the same thing and made sure that it was implanted in us. So I don't think there was much things that were new.
Well, listen, Greg, we appreciate you taking some time to join us. I know you got a ton of stuff going on right now with the draft prep and everything. Trust me when I tell you, man, all of Night Nation is rooting for you, and we know you're going to do big things to the next level, and I know we all can't wait to see what's next for you. So I appreciate everything you did for UCF, man, and best of health, best of luck to you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you down the road someday, okay?
All right, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, Greg, charge on.
Thanks, Greg.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
All right, still waiting on that new Cow of the Week sounder. We keep forgetting, Mike. We've had a bunch of people on since we've done this, and we haven't asked any of them to make any sounders for us, including Greg McCrae, who you just heard on the other side of this segment here, Mike. Listen, they always said that Greg McCrae was sort of the calming influence of the UCF's offense. I read an article where he was kind of quoted as that. I mean, he certainly seems like he's a cool, calm customer. Not much seemed to really bother him. But it was certainly good to catch up with Greg. I don't know, man. And like we say this every week, but such a good representation of UCF. Seemed like such a nice guy, such a good kid, and was certainly one of those guys that we were always wanted to have on the show, and we're lucky enough to be able to do that. And we wish him the best, Mike, as he moves forward into his potential NFL playing career.
Nothing bothers the guy. He has no pet peeves. You can't get under his skin. And that's how he played. Very calm, very relaxed, and a good kid. And, just another one that we can root for. Like we've said so many times on this show, it'd be easy to not care about these kids if they were jerks. And we've had so many of them on here, and not one of them has been that way. So it just makes it that much easier to know when you're out there on Saturday rooting for these guys, you're rooting for good kids that are doing the right things the right way. And Greg's just another example of that. I
feel like there was a moment or two there in the interview where we were getting close to being a pet peeve of his. So I'm not so sure if that worked out. But think about this, Mike. Imagine he had said to you that he was thinking about coming back. Imagine if Greg McCrae had decided to come back. And now with kind of the new offense coming in and the way Malzahn uses running backs, that would have been just the thought of McCrae back another year would have been fantastic right about now.
Yeah, we take all the depth we can get, but I mentioned to him the records that he could have broke if he did come back, or at least get close to. Some of the Kevin Smith stuff's out of touch. He's number 3 in touchdowns for a running back. He's number 3 in all-time yards. He could definitely move up to number 2 in those categories and have a chance with a huge. I believe Kevin Smith had 45 touchdowns and he was at 29. So you're talking about a 16 touchdown season. It's possible. But he had his mind made up, just like all these guys. He was in college for 4 years, and it's time for him to go. Then this is his shot. He has a dream to make the NFL. He's got to go after it now. And
what a story too! From one offer out of high school to a walk on at UCF to one of the top 5 running backs statistically all time at UCF. And hopefully he gets a shot in the NFL, Mike, because that's certainly a great story to basically come from there to where he is today. Not that we weren't rooting for these guys before, but I'll be rooting even harder for Greg to get an opportunity and maybe grab onto a practice squad someplace or get a chance to at least show his skills. Obviously the draft is different this year, and the combine won't be happening as traditional, so you got to wonder what that's gonna mean for some of the guys who are trying to make rosters, but. We will. I know I'll speak for myself. I'm pretty sure I speak for you. We will continue to be Greg McCrae fans for the rest of our lives.
Of course, unless he goes to the Eagles, then he's dead to me.
Yeah, never heard of him. All right, he may be a cow if he does that, and if he does that, he might make his way onto this segment again in the future. But rest assured, it's not going to be this evening, Mike. But we have cows. These are things that are our pet peeves. So Greg doesn't have any. I have plenty of them, so we can balance each other out here, Mike. What do you got for your cow of the week?
All right, I don't know this kid's name, but I saw a video this morning of a young man at the Cam Newton football camp. Have you seen what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, the 7-on-7 Cam Newton football deal. Yep.
So this video kind of went a little viral this past weekend, or I guess this morning, of a kid just heckling Cam Newton at his own camp. You figure the kids that are signed up for this thing are big Cam Newton fans. I don't know if his intent was just to do this on purpose so he can get this thing viral or what. But he's just going after Cam Newton, telling him how he's a free agent and he's nothing anymore. He's washed up. He's done. He's going to be broke soon. And give Cam Newton a little credit. He's kind of just laughing it off. But I think it was kind of getting to him. I think it was bothering. If you look at his face, to me, he can't play it off as well as he can. But I think this kid was getting under his skin a little bit. And Cam finally just starts saying, "Where's your dad at? Let me talk to your father." Because I think he wanted to smack this kid, but the kid's being a jerk. Why are you going to a guy's camp that if you don't like him, just to talk trash to him? That's something a cow would do. So for me, he's the cow of the week this week. I understand he came out with an apology after this.
He did. Yeah.
I have not seen that or heard it. Did you see what his apology was? Was it a video? Was it?
No, it was one of those Twitter posts where it was really the notes section from your iPhone where he typed out, he was a competitor and you let the competitor get to him, and he should have been more mature about it, and so on and so forth.
And he's telling Cam just kept saying, I'm rich. And he says, but you're a free agent. Well, if he's a free agent, he's still going to make money. Somebody's going to sign Cam Newton next year, too. He's still going to be making at least $1 million next year. So this guy's telling him he's going to be broke. I don't know. It just seemed like a dummy thing to do. A cow maneuver if I've ever seen one. So he's a cow of the week this week on a slow cow week, I guess. Free
agent or not, he was an NFL MVP. You know what I mean? It isn't like he played 1 year in the league and then flamed out and now he's got nothing. I mean, he was an NFL MVP, right? He played in a Super Bowl. I mean, he wasn't. I'm not necessarily the biggest Cam Newton fan, but you can't argue with his bona fides, right? I mean, he definitely has the resume. Felt like a kid who was just getting some attention. Everyone was looking at him, and I assume he saw people recording it. Maybe he just wanted to, act like a tough guy in front of his friends or something. I don't know, but certainly it's interesting. If you want to, it's funny this topic comes up. Our good buddy JP Gilbert posted on Twitter. I was trying to find it a bit ago. He's going to do, I guess, some sort of a meeting or conversation with some high school students tomorrow, and he basically asked his followers, what kind of things would you want to hear about from an adult? And he's got 40 responses, Mike, and some of them are really good. And I think it's interesting to think about some of the advice people or some of the things people are telling JP to share with the kids, and maybe this young kid could have used some of that advice as well. But so if you want to cleanse your soul from potentially that, hit up JP Gilbert's timeline at JP Gilbert, and you'll see some of the responses he's getting from people. Probably my favorite one is A, don't ever go to the cows, and then B, network as much as you can. So good advice coming from JP Gilbert's Twitter feed. My cow of the week, Mike, I hate to do this. He hasn't been here all that long, and I feel bad about it already, but let's just get it out of the way now so he understands. I know he's new. Maybe he's just not up to speed on things, Mike. But my cow of the week goes to one, Gus Malzahn.
What? Already,
Mike.
What did he do?
Gus Malzahn. I don't know if you saw.
There calling us UFC?
No. I mean, that happens. I mean, it's his first day. Slip of the tongue. I'm with it.
It's my first day.
But there was rumors that he was trying to hire an offensive coach. And these rumors had it that this coach had already committed to be a coach at another school. But Gus was fighting to get this guy on staff. Turns out we didn't end up hiring this guy. I assume he's going to go to the school he was intended to, Mike. But for a brief time there, we were in a battle for Coach Bobby Bentley, who has committed to being a coach, an offensive assistant at the Cows.
Oh.
That's right. He was going to go work for Jeff Scott in the Cows as an offensive assistant. And according to footballscoop.com, Gus sauntered in and tried to steal him from the Cows and bring him over to UCF. First things first, Gus. If this guy agreed to go to the Cows, clearly his decision-making is not something we're going to need around here. So that should have been your first sign that maybe he's not the right fit for us. Now, I know Gus is new. Maybe he doesn't understand these things. But anybody who in their right mind is like, you know where I should go, coach? The Cows. Probably is somebody you want to do a little bit of extra background checking on, Mike, because he might have some some decision qualities that we don't need. So Gus, I'm going to give you a small reprieve this week. You don't know any better. Maybe this guy's really a good coach. I don't know, but if he's already agreed to go to the Cows, I think that's all you need to know about him.
Yeah, he's with the Cows. We don't want him. It takes a while to get that stench off you. First of all,
it does. Yeah.
So,
and plus, this guy is new. He may have driven to Miami trying to figure out where the place is at. I mean, you just want to stay away from that, Gus. I mean, come on.
Yeah, maybe he heard that this guy had ties at South Florida. And he's trying to get recruiters that know the Miami area.
Right. Okay.
So maybe that's what it was.
You know what? I hadn't considered I hadn't considered that. That could be a possibility. Yeah, again, Gus is new. Maybe he doesn't know any better, but I don't think we should be in any sort of a hurry to grab a coach from the Cows. So let's not make that mistake again, Gus. Hopefully he'll continue to put together a great staff. In an interesting twist, though, Mike, the Cows lost their strength coach. He now went to Kansas State to take the position left by what's his name? Let me figure his name out for a second. Chris Dawson, who now is with us here at UCF. So now UCF, the Cows, need to find someone to mine their outdoor tent.
I was just going to say, this guy went from teaching people how to lift weights outside under a tent to now going to Kansas State, which is a pretty decent job. Good for him.
And that weight room looked pretty legit. I saw the weight room that they had there. It looked pretty legit there. So he's going to have to walk in and be like, wow, you guys have walls? Look at that. And a ceiling. Oh, my God. Yeah, he's not going to know what to do with himself.
He's not going to know how to work all the machines, I don't think. So.
That's true. That is true.
But 1 week from Malzahn already, Cal of the week. That's unprecedented, man. You're a little rough on the new guy, no? Give him a couple weeks here. Already 1 for 1.
Right.
1 week on the job, 1 week Cal of the week. I guess we're not putting this guy on a short leash. He's on the hot seat already?
No hot seat. But it's just, sometimes, Mike, you have to just teach your kids while they're young, right? First time you see the behavior, you got to let them know that behavior is not acceptable, so they don't do it again, right? If you let them get too close to the line and don't call them out on it, then they think it's okay. Sometimes you just gotta, you gotta let them know you can't do that. And I'm just trying to set a good tempo for Gus here. He's new, he's trying to fit in. Everyone's really excited about his tenure. I wouldn't want him to make more of these kind of mistakes. And so first time he gets to the line, I'm going to slap his hand a little bit and knock him back down so he kind of knows what's going on around here. That's all. It's all a little love, Mike. It's a lot of love.
What happens when he hires Jim Leavitt to be on the staff? What do you do that?
Ooh. Well, who would you rather him? Who would you? Okay. Would you rather him hire Jim Leavitt or Matt Grothe on staff?
Oh God.
If he brings in Matt Grothe as like offensive coordinator, QB coach, I mean, we got problems, right?
That can never happen. That can't happen.
It can't. No.
You'd rather get the kid from the Cam Newton camp to be the offensive coordinator than Matt Grothe.
That's correct. There are a lot of people I'd probably rather hire than Matt Grothe. Leavitt's interesting because I'm okay if you've been and Leavitt is too much actually just because of his history. But if you've been an assistant coach with the Cows and then you left and you went away for like 5, 6, 7 years and to your point you had time to get that stench off you, I'd be willing to consider coming to UCF at that point. But we just can't go stealing guys from the Cows. I mean, did we not see the record? I don't even. And granted, this guy's coming from South Carolina, so he's coming from the Gamecocks to the Cows. But he already agreed to go there. He knew what he was getting into. He's seen the uniforms, right? I mean, it's not that difficult. And I would think Gus just needs to stay away. I don't know how else to say
this. All right, well, hopefully he hears this and takes this warning seriously. We're not putting up with getting guys from the Cows, and he needs to know it. So he's been warned.
Yeah.
Now, if he tries it again, we're going to have some serious problems. What's worse than being Cal of the Week? Is there another distinction that we can come up with that's worse than this?
I got some options. Yeah. I mean, maybe you got to go on another podcast. I don't know.
Oh man. Well, it's got plenty to choose from.
Plenty out there. Some better than others. Although I will also give myself a low-key Cow of the Week because I got really excited. I thought I had a great home run question to ask Greg McCrae about his favorite one of his 2 touchdowns against the Cows, and he had no idea what I was talking about.
It's kind of one thing that I learned about him that I like is he really wasn't into his own stats and his own achievements and all that stuff. Which is cool. He when he talked about the other guys, the other running backs in the room, it seemed genuine that he just really wanted those guys to do well. He didn't even know how many yards he ran for in a certain game. He couldn't remember some of his touchdowns. It's all about the wins and losses with that guy.
Well, apparently he didn't remember his touchdowns against the Cows either. So, but he did remember getting chased down against Stanford, which I thought was cool, Mike. But listen, it's been another fantastic show. It's been just another whirlwind week around here at UCF. I think we probably got a couple more of these lined up here. And we got some other big names we are in conversations with about joining us on the program. So, again, if you're new to the show, just a big thanks to everybody who tuned in. We got a lot of great response on the Trey Nixon stuff last week. So for those of you who are new and listening for maybe the second time, welcome aboard. Stay with us here. You'll have more fun here than maybe anywhere else. Although we're not the number one rated podcast by the official podcast rating system, whatever that thing is, maybe we're pretty darn close. I don't really know. But either way, we appreciate everyone out there for listening to us and giving Mike and I a couple hours of your life each week to drone on about all the things that are happening with UCF.
We didn't even get to the schedule release, which came out since our last episode last week. We could do a whole episode on that, and maybe we'll just wait for our season preview.
Yeah. I feel like I need to know my coaches. I need to know everything that's happening at that point. Like, I think we need more. I mean, we don't even have a staff yet, and we're already kind of putting in W's and L's. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on that one.
Okay. But going back to the ratings thing, I mean, can we bump ourselves up a little bit? I know we have more listeners than we have ratings. Some of you guys, it's just as simple as clicking on a 5-star. That's it. You don't even have to write a review. If you want to write a review, that'd be great. Maybe we could do a hat contest for the writing a review thing. But help us out a little bit. Let's bump up our ratings things. We got to be number one now. That's our new goal, to be the number one rated UCF podcast. The ratings that we do have and the reviews that we do have are excellent. And really, our ratings and reviews have only started since we went off on our own in the last couple of months. So when you look at it that way, we're actually not doing too bad. But still, let's catch up here. Right? So go out there, rate us 5 stars, and leave a few kind words if you want.
We are in so much debt with these hats, Mike. I think we've got so many hats that we've got committed all over town. But we will get all those hats to everybody. We will live up to our end of the bargain on that one. But again, sign up for a virtual 5K. Follow us on all our social media. Check out our Sons of UCF YouTube page. Subscribe, rate, review, and let everybody know that we are indeed your favorite UCF podcast. And if that's not enough good stuff for you, here's even better news. We'll be back to do it again very next week from today. We'll also be live Thursday on the Sons of UCF live show on social media. So everybody have a fantastic week. Stay safe. And Mike, you and I will chat soon. I'm sure everybody. Go Knights.
Charge on.